The quiet Sunday afternoon in Oakwood Estates shattered with car alarms and screams. I was hammering nails into a treehouse for my 7-year-old daughter, Sophie, when shouts of "Fire! Someone help!" pierced the air. Dropping my tools, I sprinted toward the chaos. As a police commander with 22 years on the force, running toward danger was second nature. We'd moved to this neighborhood a month ago, after my wife's passing, hoping its calm would help Sophie heal. Born with a muscular condition that confined her to a wheelchair, Sophie was fierce, clever, and resilient in ways that filled me with pride. But when I rounded the corner onto Elm Street, my heart stopped. Black smoke billowed from a red sedan in the community center parking lot, and nearby, my customized van sat with Sophie trapped inside. I'd left Sophie with our neighbor, Mrs. Lynn, just 40 minutes earlier for a kid's story hour at the community center while I worked on the treehouse. Now Mrs. Lynn was pleading with a woman in a tailored navy blazer who blocked her path to my van. "Move. There's a child in there." Mrs. Lynn's voice trembled. The woman, unmoved, snapped, "No one touches this vehicle until security verifies its registration. This is an exclusive event for approved residents." I recognized her instantly. Patricia Hayes, the iron-fisted HOA president whose welcome packet read like a penal code. Neighbors had warned me about her, but I dismissed it as hyperbole. "That's my daughter," I roared, shoving through the crowd. Patricia's icy gaze met mine. "Stop. This vehicle is illegally parked during a restricted event." Flames from the sedan surged, heat and smoke drifting toward my van. Through the window, Sophie's terrified face pressed against the glass, her hands fumbling weakly at the locks. Her specialized seat and the van's custom controls, built for her limited mobility, were out of her reach. "Get away from my van," I commanded, closing in. Patricia stood firm, chin high. "I've summoned security and a tow truck. Unregistered vehicles compromise safety. She has a disability." Mrs. Lynn sobbed, tears streaming. I stepped inside to grab her storybook when the fire started, and this woman barred me from the van. Sophie's fingers clawed at the door, her strength fading. "My daughter's in danger," I said, my voice low, the one I used to freeze suspects. "Now," Patricia smirked. "Your supposed daughter could be anyone. For all I know, you're exploiting a child to dodge parking rules." She dangled my keys. Mrs. Lynn must have set them down in the chaos, her manicured fingers gripping them like a trophy. The burning car's flames roared higher, forcing the crowd back. Heat radiated 20 feet away, smoke choking the air. "That car's gonna blow," a bystander yelled. Patricia glanced at the fire, her confidence flickering, but she held her ground. "If you'd registered your vehicle and child for this event, we wouldn't be here." My patience snapped. "I am Commander Daniel Carter of the 12th Precinct, and you are obstructing an emergency response in a life-threatening situation." I flashed my badge. Her eyes wavered, but instead of yielding, she did the unthinkable. She pressed the lock button on the key fob. The van's lights flashed, locks clicking shut. Sophie's eyes widened in panic. "I'm securing this vehicle until proper authorities arrive," Patricia declared, her voice unsteady. "If you're police, you'll respect rules." A loud pop erupted from the burning car. Less than 2 minutes until the gas tank could ignite. "Everyone back," I shouted, then turned to her. "Give me those keys." She stepped back, clutching them tighter. "I know my rights. This is HOA-managed private property. You have no jurisdiction without—" She didn't finish. Ethan Walsh, a 16-year-old lacrosse player from down the street, tackled her to the ground like he was on the field. "Sorry, ma'am," he said, prying the keys from her stunned grip and tossing them to me. "That kid's in trouble." I caught the keys and bolted to the van, unlocking it with trembling hands. The door handle seared from the nearby flames, smoke stinging my eyes. "Daddy," Sophie cried as I yanked the door open and unbuckled her harness. "I've got you, honey. Close your eyes, hold your breath." I lifted her just as the sedan's window shattered, glass spraying. Cradling her against my chest, I ran past Patricia, now pinned by Ethan and another neighbor, her pristine blazer smudged with dirt, her face twisted in fury. "You can't touch me. Do you know who I am?" she shrieked. I didn't stop until Sophie was safe across the street, seated on a neighbor's lawn chair, far from the smoke. Her wheelchair was still in the van, but that was a distant concern. "Are you hurt?" I asked, checking her for injuries, rage boiling beneath my calm. Sophie shook her head, her dark braids swaying. Mrs. Lynn went to get my book, 'cause I forgot it. Then the fire started, and that lady wouldn't let her back to me. Her voice cracked. She said people like me don't belong at regular events. My blood burned, but before I could respond, a deafening boom shook the lot. The sedan's gas tank exploded, flames engulfing it and licking the ground. Fire truck sirens wailed, too late to save my van. Within minutes, the heat ignited my van's tires, and soon it was ablaze, consuming Sophie's $25,000 custom wheelchair, her communication tablet, and the adaptive controls that gave her independence. As we watched our lifeline burn, Mrs. Lynn approached, sobbing. I'm so sorry, Daniel. I left her for a minute. That woman snatched your keys from my bag when I set it down to show my ID. It's not your fault, I said, though my mind churned. When a police cruiser pulled up, I recognized Officer Sanchez, a former subordinate. Commander Carter? She said, startled. What are you doing here? I live here, I replied grimly. Arrest that woman for child endangerment, theft, and obstructing emergency response. Patricia, still arguing with neighbors, fell silent as Sanchez approached, realizing I wasn't bluffing. This is a misunderstanding, she stammered, smoothing her disheveled hair. I was enforcing community standards when this spiraled. You locked a disabled child in a vehicle beside a burning car, Sanchez said, pulling out handcuffs, after stealing her caretaker's keys. I didn't steal, save it for your statement. Sanchez cuffed her, reading her rights as Patricia's protests faded. The days after were a blur of loss and unexpected hope. Our van and Sophie's equipment were destroyed, leaving us stranded for months until insurance could replace them. But the neighborhood, once rigid with rules, rallied. Ethan's family offered their accessible van. A retired mechanic down the block crafted a temporary wheelchair from spare parts. The HOA board, shaken, held an emergency meeting and unanimously voted to oust Patricia. Most surprising was George Hayes, Patricia's husband of 25 years, who visited our rented apartment the next day, eyes red, holding a check. This won't fix everything, he said, handing me $80,000, but it's a start. I've excused Patricia's control issues for decades, convincing myself it was just perfectionism. Yesterday showed me what she's become and what I've enabled. I tried to refuse, but he insisted. You're not the first family she's hurt, just the first with the authority to stop her. I filed for divorce today, and I'm liquidating our assets before she can hide them. This is for the harm she's caused. Patricia's reckoning was just beginning. Security footage from the community center showed her not only stealing the keys from Mrs. Lynn's bag, but smirking as Sophie struggled in the van. The DA upgraded her charges to attempted voluntary manslaughter after uncovering texts to a friend, finally clearing out the undesirables. Fire's efficient. The story hit local news, and former neighbors from other communities shared tales of her cruelty. Her real estate firm fired her, clients dropped her listings, and a court-ordered psychiatric evaluation deemed her dangerously unempathetic, remorseful only for being caught. 2 weeks later, as we awaited Sophie's new wheelchair, we attended the community center's reopened library hour. The fire damage was repaired, a new ramp replacing the old steps, fast-tracked by the new HOA board. Inside, neighbors gathered around a covered table. Mrs. Lynn, smiling through tears, spoke. We couldn't replace everything, but we wanted to restore Sophie's voice. She unveiled a state-of-the-art communication device, better than the one lost, funded by the community and strangers moved by the story. Sophie's eyes lit up as she typed her first message. Thank you for seeing me, not just my chair. The room choked up. Patricia's legal troubles deepened. Investigations revealed she'd targeted elderly and disabled residents for years, blocking ramps and illegally towing permitted vehicles. At her sentencing, the judge was unforgiving. Mrs. Hayes, your discriminatory pattern nearly killed a disabled child. This court sentences you to 15 years in prison, no parole for 10. As she was led away, pleading for mercy, the community she'd terrorized turned away. George donated their estate, now transformed into a recreation center for disabled children, named Sophie's Haven, with a plaque chronicling how one girl's ordeal exposed decades of cruelty. 6 months later, On a crisp spring morning, we gathered at Sophie's Haven for its opening. The former Hayes Mansion was a vibrant space where kids of all abilities played together, funded by Patricia's seized assets and community donations. As Sophie cut the ribbon from her new wheelchair, surrounded by friends who saw her spirit, not her disability, I felt a burden lift. That evening, tucking her in, she asked, "Daddy, will the mean lady ever get out of jail?" I chose honesty. "Not for a long time, sweetheart. What she did was wrong." Sophie nodded. "Good. Sometimes bad people need a big timeout to learn to be kind." And now her house helps kids like me. From the ashes of malice, something beautiful grew, a community that valued people over policies, kindness over control. Though the cost was steep, watching Sophie thrive in this new world of acceptance made the fire we endured worth it.